Hey guys, Tony again, back with another update for you. Different topic this time. I'm getting a lot of questions asking my thoughts on what is the status of the $250 million equity raise announced by AMC Entertainment just a couple of business days ago. Do I think that they're actually selling shares right now is one common question. And if they are selling shares, how far along are they? Allow me to show you some backtesting evidence to back up my thoughts on how I analyze these type of corporate events. And I hope to answer those very questions for you. Let's get right into it. This is what we're working with, the prospectus filed by AMC on March 28th, announcing that they intended to raise $250 million to bolster the cash on the balance sheet to replace the cash that is going to be burnt in Q1 2024. On the chart here, we can see the negative reaction to that dilution announcement, and the price has been trading down for a couple of days on some high volume days, right? Over 40 million shares traded on Thursday and Monday. Today, the volume was about 19 million shares. And I have some ideas about what is going on here. In general, when I look at these type of corporate events from a company that is in need of cash, I expect that they begin selling the shares right away. And typically what I see is that about 10% of the daily volume is the company selling extra shares into the market. To raise $250 million at a price of around $3 to $3.50, I estimate that AMC is going to need to sell 70 to 80 million shares. So if we say 80 million shares at just over $3, you get the $250 million. Then it becomes a little bit of math, just watching the daily volume every day, taking about 10% of that and figuring out when we're getting close to 80 million shares. We do know, if you read the prospectus in detail, including clicking through all the links at the bottom of the prospectus, that the maximum allotted shares for this offering is 83.3 million shares. That tells me, in my opinion, that AMC likely does not want to be selling any shares related to this offering under a price of $3 and a couple of pennies, because the math doesn't work. If you take 80 million shares and multiply them times 3 and change, you have $250 million. But if you are trying to sell under $3, the math is not going to work with a cap of 83 million shares. Now, just to be thorough, I put together a little spreadsheet estimating what they've already sold on the 28th and 1st. The price was well higher than $3 then, so we have to subtract that out. And my estimate is that as of right now, they've sold about 10.9 million shares. They've raised about $37 million. That means the absolute minimum that they can sell these shares at, if they did the full allotment of 83 million shares, would be $2.93. Keep in mind, AMC is using several sales agents to sell these shares. They tell them every day how many they would like to sell and what is the absolute minimum price they will take that day. And when I looked at the chart today and I saw that barcoding at around $3.12, that tells me, and I could be wrong, but that tells me that today AMC was not willing to sell less than $3.12. So the selling pressure was on, and when it hit $3.12, the selling pressure stopped, and you saw the price try and bounce back up from there. And in fact, it bounced back up pretty hard towards the end of the day. And then boom, we got some high volume candles and the price dropped right back down to $3.12 with a little bit of trail off towards the end of the day. Now, could they be selling below $3.12 today? Sure, anything's possible, but this is just my theory. Feel free to comment down below. Tomorrow is a new day. There may be a new minimum price target acceptable to AMC, and it may be lower than $3.12. We will just have to see what happens tomorrow and the rest of this week. So yes, I do think they are selling. I do think that they are highly incentivized to raise the $250 million as quickly as possible. It will probably take several weeks, maybe even 30 days as I do the math. And so how did I come to this theory that AMC or any company that's doing a dilution event is selling about 10% of the daily volume? That is due to research I've done over the past couple of years, looking at experts that advise companies on how much shares to sell when they're doing dilution. I would have to go back and find that article, but That is how I've always judged these events. So if you recall back in November 8th, 2023, November 9th, AMC did this prospectus to raise $350 million. AMC told us that they completed that November offering on December 11th. They raised $350 million through the sale of approximately 48 million shares at an approximate average price of $7.29 per share. When we look at that date range on the daily chart, November 8th through December 11th, remembering that it was 48 million shares that they sold, I want you to go in and add up all of these daily volume candles. That's what they add up to, about 480 million shares. 480 million shares of volume traded within that 30-day window in which AMC sold 48 million shares. And there is your 10% rule. We know that AMC's earnings for Q1 is going to be in early May, so that gives them just about 1 month to get this done. And then in that earnings call and in the financial statements, they can publish a subsequent event talking about the cash raise, and Adam Aaron and Sean Goodman can tell folks on the call, hey, we did have a cash burn in Q1. However, due to the equity raise, our cash position is back up to around $880 million, and we have plenty of liquidity to make it through the rest of this year. So to wrap this up, yes, I do think that they are actively selling shares, about 10% of the daily volume, and I do think that it will take several weeks for this to wrap up. However, I don't think that they want to be selling below $3 or at an absolute minimum $2.93. So I'm going to be using that to gauge what I do with AMC going forward. As you guys know, I'm mostly in cash for my AMC position. I do have some shares that I kept, but they are hedged. They're protected with January $4 puts. So that price drop that we had in the shares was offset by the increase in the value of those $4 puts that I own. I'm going to continue to just wait and watch, try and see what's happening with the dilution. I'm not ready to jump back in yet. I'm not calling a bottom on the price yet, but looking at these numbers that I have on the screen, it gives me a little bit of comfort, not a guarantee, a little bit of cowboy clown comfort that maybe $2.93 to $3 is hopefully the bottom that we will see here, because it does not benefit AMC if they want to raise $250 million to keep pushing, to keep selling below the price of $2.93. They're not going to get their $250 million. They will run out of the 83 million share allotment before they get to their cash raise goal. What does that mean in layman's terms? If my theory is correct, then as we approach a price level of $3 or $2.93 at the absolute bottom, AMC should be incentivized to let off the gas. No more selling below that price. And then they will allow the price to organically come back up until it gets to a point where they can sell it profitably again for their cash raise. In short, I'm going to be watching to see if a base forms around $2.93 to $3. And who knows, maybe we'll be lucky. Maybe AMC decides to let off the gas at today's price around $3.10, and we never go below that price. I'm just letting you know right now where I think my worst case scenario is and what I'm going to be looking for. So will I be right or wrong on where this price bottoms out? Will the shorts pressure the price well below where AMC would prefer to be selling it? I guess we will have to stick around and circle back on this in a couple weeks. If you have questions or comments, please drop them below. I am Tony Denaro, and I will see ya on the next video.